Maureen back up here with us. 2 month leave.
Okay. Mayor Fratelli?
Here.
Mr. Bontempo?
Here.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Here.
Dr. Pascucci?
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor Fratelli.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize someone that I've known his entire life, Anthony Saporito. If you would come up here, please, tonight. Anthony, it's an honor to recognize you tonight. Whereas Anthony Saporito is a member of Troop 131 of the Boy Scouts of America in Holmdel, New Jersey. Whereas Anthony has lived and continues to live according to the Boy Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Whereas Anthony has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest rank in Boy Scouts. And whereas Anthony is fulfilling his requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout by restoring the flagpole area and replacing the sign at the firehouse at 11 Centerville Road, and thereby has contributed to the well-being of his community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Township Committee of the Township of Holmdel that we applaud and officially recognize Anthony on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout and for his unselfish, voluntary service to the community. And be further resolved, and we wish Anthony continued success in all his future endeavors, with confidence that he will serve as a role model for other Boy Scouts and will continue to make important contributions to society. Congratulations, Anthony. So, family, come on up for some pictures.
Hello. Am I okay?
He said you're okay.
Sorry. Better?
Sorry, sir.
Honey? Honey?
Maybe like recorders probably going out to
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Absolutely. I'd like to recognize Committeeman Pascucci.
Committeeman Pascucci resigned as deputy mayor. I do think
Microphone, please.
Committeeman Pascucci resigned as deputy mayor. I don't want to keep saying it, but I did. I think we do need a deputy mayor. So I am going to make a motion to vote in as deputy mayor Greg Bontempo.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Patel?
Yes. Consent agenda.
Okay, well, no. We need to swear him in.
Oh. Isn't that?
Do you have everything?
Well, actually, this is the fourth Bible, but I'm sure it'll work.
You know the second.
I didn't see Anne Marie. Oh, no. You don't want to hold? Somebody's got to hold it, right? I'm going to dress for the signature.
You can tell I this is not how I would
Okay, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Gregory Bontempo.
I, Gregory Bontempo.
Do solemnly swear.
solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments
in
established
the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
and authority of the people.
And I will faithfully,
And I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of Holmdel Township Deputy Mayor
of Holmdel Township Deputy Mayor
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Yeah.
Find out.
So Craig, you're going to get a better seat, I guess, now, right?
No, I like it. I'm getting kind of used to it over here.
We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Items 7A through J. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Patel?
Yes. Item 8, introduction of ordinances. Maureen?
Okay, calendar year 2018 model ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 4-45.14, ordinance 2018-06. The motion will be to adopt on first reading, published in the Asbury Park Press, and set the public hearing for April 24th, 2018.
Sure, Mayor. This is, I would defer to the CFO with anything specific, but this is basically complying with the state cap law in light of any budget interruption.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Patel?
Yes. Department reports. Donna, the administrator.
No, Mayor.
How about our CFO? Do you have any report tonight, Jen?
I actually do. How about that? So before you, you have the budget that is slated for introduction tonight. Some notable items that are in this budget, if we look at the revenue side, I'm happy to report that the amount to be raised through taxation will remain flat again for the second year in a row. So that means no tax increase from the municipal side. We have increased the amount of surplus.
Zero gets allowed. Zero gets allowed.
We've increased the amount of surplus that we're going to utilize this year because we did have it available. We'll also be anticipating some pilot revenues for the first time in the budget of about $300,000, which were limited to what is collected in the previous year. So we're anticipating higher collections this year, but the amount that we're actually allowed to appropriate is limited to what happened in the previous year. Our state aid or energy receipts taxes are remaining flat again since the same since 2010. And we have received some funding, 100% funding, as a matter of fact, for the Middletown Road project through both a grant from the DOT for $180,000 and from another off-site contribution from Somerset Development. So that road will be able to be improved without any cost to the town. On the appropriation side, we have some notable items in there as well. So as far as salary appropriations, they're increased across the board due to contract negotiations and obligations. We do have a fully funded IT budget, which last year was just for a portion of the year. That is a department that had formerly been subcontracted out that we now have brought in-house. We're also at the point where our open space budget is fully funded, and so we're not draining the current fund from that any longer, and we're also able to appropriate funds to maintain the open space properties through that budget as well. We've increased our down payment for capital improvement projects, and we've done that for two reasons. One is because we need down payments for any capital programs that get approved throughout the year, and also because we're trying to build up cash in that fund so that we can have the ability to pay cash for future projects as well. Our debt service has also increased. We do that strategically to aggressively pay down any short-term debt that we have. So last year we increased it. This year we're up another 5% just so that we have the cash on hand, we can aggressively pay down some of that short-term debt. And then finally, for the past 4 years or so, we had some what are called deferred unfunded charges. That was from ordinances stemming back to the year 2000, which we had never borrowed the money to complete those projects, but spent cash on there, and there's a penalty for that. You need to raise that money. So we've been doing that over the past 4 years. This year we'll pay it in full, so that line item will no longer appear on future year budgets. And with that said, that basically sums up the budget. And I offer that to you for introduction. If it's introduced tonight, I would then recommend that we adopt the budget on May 8th, at the May 8th.
Yeah, two questions.
Sure.
One, with the rising interest rate environment, how do we budget for, I mean, we collect all the money for the town, for the board, for everything. So in a higher rate environment, that benefits us, correct? I mean, the money that we hold before we distribute.
To be honest with you, we get very little interest at the bank, if that's what you're referring
Right,
to, the excess funds. We're not yet we're not yet able to invest money separately because, you know, our cash flow isn't exactly what we, you know, like it to be.
Okay, so if I went back like 10 years and the interest rate was 4 or 5%, that's a line item
That
worth
was a lot of
mentioning,
money.
correct?
Yes, correct.
So like today, a money market rate might be 1.5. If it went to 2.5 over the next 12 months, is that a significant number? Is that worth a couple $100,000?
Well, it could be. Our cash flow, yeah, back, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so it comes in, it flies out as
Yeah.
quickly as possible,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
that happens.
Over time, that's you know, going to
Okay.
change, but.
And then my second question is, and I totally understand, so that if a lease was signed, for argument's sake, March 1st of this year, and that's going to increase the pilot revenue, I can't put that in because it wasn't completed last year.
Correct.
However, being that that will be a strong case if Bell works, all that pilot revenue, does that go towards surplus? Is
Yes,
that- okay.
oh, yes.
Any other questions for Greg? Greg? Just want to compliment both you ladies. I've been working closely with you over the last few months, and you did a great job putting this budget together and keeping the tax increases zero for the second year in a row. So thank you.
Louder, please. A little louder.
I was just complimenting the women for the work that they've done to propose a zero budget increase for 2018. Thank you, ladies. And I entertain a motion to adopt or to introduce this budget.
And set the public hearing for May 8th.
And set the public hearing for May 8th, 2018. Motion. I'll second it. Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Based on our current situation, I didn't really feel comfortable approving the budget yet, so I am a no.
Mr. Hine?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Pending review of the budget as a working document with the Finance Committee Thursday evening. I just got it a little earlier, so I'm going to know.
Dr. Pascucci?
I feel we still need another public workshop on the operating budget and the capital budget. So for now, I'm a no.
Mayor Patel?
I would be a yes, but we'll come back in 2 weeks. Thank you. And professional reports, Michael.
Yes, Mayor. Just one item in the attorney's report. We have a resolution that is a late starter that didn't make it into the consent agenda, so I would just ask the committee to consider it now. It's titled a resolution authorizing execution of documents relating to the lease for the Holmdel Township Library and Learning Center. I know each of the committee members have a copy of the resolution at their positions on the dais. Basically, there are some documents that need to be executed related to a refinancing that's occurring by Somerset Development. It's very routine, but in order to make sure that it's properly authorized, this resolution will give us the belt and suspenders to make sure we can uphold our obligations as tenant. So, Mayor, I would offer that resolution for consideration.
Someone like to introduce that?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Hine?
Sure.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Patel?
Yes. Any reports from our engineers?
Mayor, we had submitted a prior outline reporting on all the efforts that are ongoing, but there are two highlights I would mention. One is the next phase and last phase of improvements to Crawford Corner Road. That contract has been awarded. We had the pre-construction meeting, and the contractor should begin work on site within the next several weeks. The same holds true for the drainage culvert replacement on Chestnut Ridge Road and the guide rail to be installed along Catbird Alley. So those construction items should start within the next several weeks.
Thank you, Fran. Boards and committees. Rocco?
I'm still working on the fire safety meeting, but I would ask the committee if they would give me permission, not setting any amounts, to talk to this guy, Harry Potter. He was our fire official many times years ago, to help look at the town and what do we really need. I do not want to spend a lot of money on this, but I would like permission to give him a phone call and say, look, you did this for us before. We need your little input, because I get different stories of what the town needs from different people. So if that's acceptable, I'm not agreeing to anything with him, just permission to talk to him, and then I can bring it back to the committee, and if he makes a reasonable offer.
I'm sorry, who's this?
Harry Carter. He's a fire official. He does a lot of things for towns. Before you were on, we used him before, and I think he's a great individual.
Yeah, Dr. Carter worked with us a couple of years ago and came up with the analysis for us. So he's certainly an expert in the field. I have no problem with that, Rock.
I just want to see what he's going to cost.
Yeah, ask for a proposal.
So yesterday, before I get into the finance area, yesterday the Rutgers Water Resources team came out to Holmdel and we met on Palmer Avenue. And back in December, we authorized a water study for the flooding issue on Palmer that's been plaguing that area for many decades. This group of individuals and professionals from Rutgers University is going to come out, and they're going to spend a year studying the area, the Waackack Creek floodplain, and see what options are available to us for solutions. Now, earlier last year, we talked about, with T&M, talked about de-snagging and de-silting the stream. Their quick analysis demonstrated, and they quickly came to the conclusion that de-snagging and de-silting is not going to solve the problem there. It's going to require talking about choke points with the water downstream. Now, this study is going to, they said this will take a year, but it opens the door for federal grants that will enable us to apply for federal funding to solve the problem, because this is not a Holmdel problem. The bulk of the problem, the bulk of the rainfall comes from Middletown and falls into Holmdel, which winds up in the majority of the Bayshore area. It all flows all the way downstream to Keensburg and the Bayshore area in the watershed that leads into the bay. So this will take a year, but it opens the door for federal funding. So they started on Monday, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it leads. As for finance, Thursday evening, the Finance Committee has a meeting, and I look forward to going over the budget with 5 certified public accountants and guys that have over 100 years in the finance industry. So I look forward to reporting back on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Greg, any report?
The police are running their next neighborhood watch meeting this Thursday here, 7 p.m. in the courtroom. They're looking for additional neighborhoods to get involved. So you're welcome to come to the meeting, even if you're not a member, and participate. You can reach out to Lieutenant Piggott also if you need any information on the upcoming neighborhood watch. There's a lot of information that they share. I get the reports, they send them out. They're very informative for the community, keep everybody in loop of what's going on. We've had a couple recent car thefts, one on my street about a week or so ago. So they keep the neighborhoods aware of things going on in the neighborhood and things to look out for, and it's been a very positive program. So hey, everybody's welcome to come. Again, if you need more information, you can reach out to Lieutenant Piggott, or feel free to reach out to me or speak to me after the meeting today. That's it, Mayor.
Mr. Hines.
Yeah, I'm real excited. We're working on a date to do another community cleanup. Tom, I met with Victor Stevens and Donna. We're just going to work through a date, but again, we're excited to do that again, and hopefully we pick the right date and get the whole community involved. I think it's one of those great things to bring everyone together, so we'll be looking for a date sometime in September to do that again.
Thank you. So I'd like to open it up to the public for public comment. I'll remind everyone you have one opportunity to address us and 3-minute limit, please. Mr. Blumenthal.
Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. So follow up to a conversation I had with you about a month ago. The evening the T&M gave their report, said that clearly from the rec needs, what people were interested in is walking and learning where our parks are. We've been working with as his friends at Holmdel Open Space, we're working with the rec department, and we're going to start that series of walks this Saturday. One of these flyers is put together by the rec people. Allison was here. And this Saturday at 10 a.m., meeting at Bayonet Farm and seeing all the daffodils, both at the farm itself. But those who haven't been over onto the former Chase property around the Messon area, Laura Harding had spread daffodils all over the place. They've gone wild. It's absolutely beautiful. We think hopefully this Saturday will be the right day for it. Everybody's welcome, both all of you, everybody here. 10 a.m. at Bayonet Farm to go for a 2 to 3 mile walk to see the daffodils.
Very good. Thank you,
Awesome.
Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph.
Terrific. Any other comments, Carol?
Carol Bomber, 96 Middletown Road, Holmdel. Well, welcome back, Maureen. I think it's good to see you. How come you're walking so good? I mean, you walked in here like flat.
I'm Irish.
Standing. Okay, I have a couple of things. First thing I'd like to address is a few years ago, and I think it was either Mayor Improvido or Mayor Hines that was presiding at that time, you rescinded the ordinance that allowed the people, the taxpayers, the citizens, the voters, to come to you to appeal of zoning board approval. Is there any chance that could be reinstated, and how would we go about that?
I just want to say for the record, it wasn't me.
Okay, all right, so maybe it was Mayor Improvisato. Mr. Collins, can you help me with that?
That was before my time, that you are correct that there are provisions, whether or not the governing body has an override
Right.
from the boards.
Well,
I don't know what the history is in terms of Holmdel ordinance. But
historically, there was an override at one time. Then a few years back, I must have been Mr. Improvisato, who basically, his administration rescinded it. What is the procedure to go forward to petition the township committee to reinstate it?
I think you're doing that right now by standing at the microphone and encouraging them. I mean, you could
I
certainly make a
encourage you
case.
to do that.
Okay.
And if we have to get a petition to submit to you people to do that, I think it's very important.
We'll
Okay.
take a look at it. Donna, would you put that on the to-do list for me? We'll consider it. Thank you, Cal.
Okay. Also, number 8, introduction of ordinances. The public hearing, that was April 24th, according to the agenda? Okay. Are we exceeding our cap? Is that why we're passing this? Can you explain that?
I'll let Jeanette explain it.
Okay.
So that is for an appropriation cap. So state law has 2 caps. One is the levy cap, and one is an appropriation cap. So customarily, we, not even every year, well, before we introduce the budget, we always pass that ordinance, because that allows us, no matter, if we had an excess of $10 million in the bank and we wanted to do a $10 million project, if we can't exceed the cap for an appropriation, so we always just build up the cap just in case we need it.
Okay. So you're not exceeding what?
This, and remember, this is appropriation, not
Okay.
levy. This is
Okay.
not your taxes.
Okay.
So this year, the state allowed for 2.5%. The max that you can ever do an appropriation increase for is 3.5%. So we added another 1% to what the state already allowed. And it's customary, if you look back on each year of, before a budget introduction, we always pass that.
Okay, and I'm assuming, just for clarity, the budget was not introduced tonight, is that correct?
That's correct.
So we don't have a public hearing for it yet, right?
Correct.
All right, so after it is introduced, or before it's introduced, when will the budget be published?
We try to get it published as soon as we can. Actually, the budget that the
So-
committee received is currently online.
So the document as it is right now is ready, so pending further review, if there's revisions, it'll take time to put those revisions in, and then it'll be
So it's not
ready.
necessarily published in the newspaper, it's published
No,
online?
It's
No.
required
Until it's
to
introduced.
after introduction.
After intro will be published in summary, not in.
Not line items?
No.
Okay, all right. And so we don't have a public hearing for that yet, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's about it. I would like to encourage you to look at reinstating that ordinance that was rescinded. Okay?
Thank you, Cal.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Tom?
Please.
Tom? Tom Wood, 20 Tetherhill Way in Bell. I noticed that the draft budget, I guess is how I should refer to it, that was published in the agenda, calls for borrowing nearly $3 million for the very poorly explained purpose of parks improvement. It's the largest line item in the capital budget. I appreciate the board not moving forward on the budget at this time, because apparently there hasn't, in your opinion, hasn't been enough discussion. But I wonder if the professionals or the township committee would be willing to expound upon this proposed borrowing in the budget.
Can I just, and each year we have a similar discussion. The state law provides that if you look at the document as a whole, we have to provide for a 6-year capital plan.
Yes.
Okay? And that plan is preliminary. Even with the budget being introduced and then later adopted, regardless of what's in there, that doesn't approve those projects. So that's why it's a cursory or a summarized title of what the improvements are.
Yes.
So the purpose of that is because also within the budget is an amount for a down payment.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have to have an amount. So everyone, when you see what's in there, makes the assumption that's our capital budget. The mechanism for borrowing the money or however we're going to finance it will come later when the capital budget is actually approved. And that would be done with a bond ordinance.
Yes, I understand the process. First of all, I'll point out the $3 million is not spread over 6 years. The $3 million is what's proposed for in the capital budget for the next year,
Right.
2018.
So-
And excuse me, my time. So I would imagine you would put such a large amount in the capital budget if you didn't have some idea of what you were going to do with it. And so I'm asking, could you tell us?
As chairman of the finance committee, I may find that the committee's meeting Thursday night, and we may find the $3.5 million isn't enough. We may want to double it.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to go through it line by line, and we're going to see where we can make some cuts and maybe make some adjustments, and maybe add to that. Or we may cut from it. We don't know. We're going to take a look at it, and we're going to see what we can afford. We're going to see what we need, and we're going to take a look at all the dynamics, and then we'll come to a conclusion and we'll discuss it publicly.
Okay, we'll come back and
Thank you.
hear what you have to say.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Peter?
Pete Reddy, 7 Rustic Lane. First off, thanks guys for all the work you do. I know it's long hours. I know it's most times unappreciated, so I appreciate it. You know, sitting on the school board the last 4 years, I wanted to appeal to you guys that I know a huge need in this township. I mean, and a lot of people probably would say the same thing that I would, is we have one turf field here. Right now, there's 14 teams in our school district.
There's 2 turf fields in Holmdel. We just read them.
2?
Yes, there's 2.
Where?
St. John Vianney is in Holmdel.
Okay, that's a private field if you don't
St. John Vianney is in Holmdel.
Right, you were correct. There's one field, there's one public field that our students of this township has access to. So there's 14 teams that are basically fighting for those fields. And as everyone knows, this winter, long winter, baseball team, softball team, they've basically not gotten off fields. And everyone, you go outside right now, those lights are on, I guarantee there's people on that field, and there'll be people on that Rogie field probably to 8, 9 o'clock tonight. So my appeal to you guys would be try to find a way that we get another turf field in this town so that the students of this town and all the ones that will follow will have what many other towns have that we don't. And it affects us. I mean, it affects us like right now, if you look at, if people don't know, the SATS teams, they don't have a home field. They get bussed every game over to Cross Farm, so there's another advantage. And next year, when we're doing the referendum that's going on, the fields in the back are not going to be available. So there's going to be a lot of, I guess, strain. So the request or the appeal as a resident would be if we could get this moving quicker than later, would be a huge benefit, you know, now and obviously for years to come. So thanks for whatever you can do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Can I make a comment? Please, again, I can only talk about me. We all do care about recreation, we're gonna put money
Right,
into it.
absolutely.
Tell the board to throw in some money too.
We just passed a $40 million for
Let's use it though for recreation.
We are replacing all the fields in the back.
All right, let's,
Which is good.
Mr. Manning?
Hey, Bob Manning, Cedar Village. Echo what Pete said about thank you for volunteering and doing a good job in the township. I really enjoy living here. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm first speaking for Joe Hammer. His mom probably won't make it through the night, so he's up in New Hampshire. So he asked me to come, and dangerous giving an Irishman the mic. Never get rid of it. But I'd like to echo what Pete just said about fields. I'm a grandfather, but I have grandchildren who are in this town and want to play sports. And I think another field, Holmdel Field, not St. John Vianney Field. That was a shrewd one. So I just echo, and please consider it, guys.
We are very much, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Anyone else care to speak tonight? Barbara?
Barbara Singer, 5 Deerfield Road. Mike, on the Palmer Avenue, I'm glad to hear that Rutgers said that the snagging won't solve the problem because residents have been coming here for so long saying it's not solving the problem. Do they need to be called to come out when it is actually flooding and raining, or will they come on their own to see?
Great question. So they already have photographs, and they're actually coming out with a bigger team that has a drone that's specialized in topography, and they're going to measure the area with their instruments. They're going to, with their engineers, with their water resource specialists, and they're going to take all the time they need to this spring. They're going to come out when it rains. They're going to come out and see what happened. They want to witness a flooding incident, but we'll see where they go. But they're going to not just focus on Palmer, but the entire Waackack Creek area.
And with this project going on now, what will happen with the project to raise the road there? Will that be put on hold pending?
I don't know.
No, I don't think that'll interfere with the county improvements to Palmer Avenue. Fran, you have anything on that?
It wouldn't interfere with it. The Rutgers effort was always intended to supplement,
Right.
what has been contemplated thus far. So far, everybody knows it's a regional watershed-wide issue, not just the road corridor. So there's the two efforts are not in conflict with each other, and there is no reason, or there would be no conflict in continuing with the road raising, along with other stream corridor improvements that the Rutgers team may come up with in terms of recommendations.
Well, as you know, the Palmer Avenue residents were concerned about this road raising project to begin with, and that it could actually exacerbate the problem in that immediate area for those residents. And I'm just wondering about going through the expense of raising the road now, if we're going to have more of a long-term fix that could resolve that problem and not cause any further damage in the meantime. So I think if that could be looked into a little further.
I brought that up when I met with them, and they didn't. It wouldn't have. They mentioned. I said that the county was planning this program to raise. And it's not. I'm not an engineer, but they said that it wouldn't have an effect either one way or the other. But it's not a long-term solution. It's a quick fix, but they want to look at long-term solutions, and that's where the federal government comes into place, because it's a very large area that they're talking about. Not just Palmer. This affects everything downstream and all the way out to the bay.
And then back to the budget and the introduction of the budget. And Mike, I understood why you were saying no, you're going to be meeting with the finance committee, so that kind of makes sense. Dr. Pasucci, I was wondering, you had mentioned some workshops on the operating budget and something else. Are those workshops just for your committee here, or is that a public thing? Okay, and that's to educate us more on
so that you can see an open process that everyone complains about.
That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Mr. Bontempo, I was wondering why you said no to the introduction today.
If you come to the workshop, you'll hear.
Okay. Do we have dates planned, or that's something that's going to
Just happened tonight.
Yeah.
Got that quick with make the dates.
Great. Okay. No, that's fine. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
J&L 18 Ladwood Drive. A few weeks ago, when we were discussing where the recreation process goes, you said, well, I don't know, we're thinking about it. And is T&M involved? Well, I don't know. And now we have a preliminary budget with a potential debt issuance and a pretty big number. And I realize it's fungible based on what everything is said here. And also knowing that for over 6 months now, and I know Ms. Weber said recently that we are not opposed to a turf field with towers at the school. But how do we go from what you said last week to having these things in there to apparently committee members not feeling comfortable with what's in there?
Jeanette explained that already. Do you want to explain it one more time?
Well, I know, but we also have good friends of mine, and we have 2 effective school board members already pushing. And again, I'm not against it, but I think if we're teeing up a field at the school, as I've been saying over and over again, we have to have an open, public discussion. Who uses it, what the costs are going to be, who's going to maintain it, who contributes to it, what percentage of the students from Holmdel are actually going to use it, what percentage of people from outside of Holmdel are going to use it. I heard from the planning board meeting there could be DEP issues there. What if we find out, whether it's through T&M or somewhere else, we can't put this field there at the school? Well, then do we go back to the nuclear issue of Cross Farm again? So I realize I'm getting a little ahead, but I also realize this seems ahead based on what you said last week.
But Jay, I do think you brought up a good point. So I guess I'm kind of confused at this point. Mr. Mayor, are we going to schedule a, what's the word we use, a workshop to discuss this?
Well, we had one workshop already that was open to the public. It sounds like there's a suggestion from my fellow committeeman, Dr. Pascucci, like to have another workshop.
So should we just maybe pick that date tonight, only because,
I'd like to.
I mean, in theory, if you're going to do something, I don't know, I think if you're going to do something ever, which is doubtful, but if you're ever going to do something, and I've been right, and I'll probably right again.
But Eric, you've been right. You've been right because there hasn't been daylight on it, and unfortunately,
There you go.
it looks like we're having the fourth.
now.
But it looks like we're having the fourth. We're going down the fourth alley
Do
of
you
no
want
light.
daylight, or you want us just to vote something in?
We want daylight.
That's what you're getting. All right.
Okay.
So would Daylight be picking a date to do the workshop?
Yes.
The other things, just as a side, I had to go to the bathroom before I came in here. Those stalls are like worse than something you'd see at Penn Station. So if we're and that's not
Have you been to
exaggerating.
Penn Station
There's not
recently?
even locks.
I don't know about that.
There's not even locks on it. If we're gonna
Penn Station's pretty
spend millions on this stuff, can we get new bathrooms?
So I would suggest the committee is talking about a workshop session. How much time do we need?
It'll be an open public meeting, 48 hours notice, and clerk can effectuate that. Committee's pleasure.
Can you repeat that, please?
We were just saying that in order to schedule a public meeting under state law, there just needs to be 48 hours notice, and I believe the mayor is now going to discuss with the committee possible dates for a public meeting.
Well, I think we're going to continue with the public hearing, I'm sorry, the public portion, and then we'll keep it open, and we'll discuss it amongst ourselves, and we can stay to that. Is there a hand? Yes. Mr. Goldstein.